G'day, I'm Gus Glover, farmer at Lock, Eyre Peninsula, South Australia. Welcome to Goldmine Hill Farms, where we run a mixed sheep and cropping enterprise. Our average rainfall is 350 mils. All up, we're managing 6,500 hectares. Out of that, 4,500 is cropping. We mainly grow wheat, barley, some canola and vetch. Our average yields on cereals is in the 2.5 to 3 tonne range, and canolas in the 1 to 1.5. Our main feed base for our sheep is regenerated medic pastures, and we also crop 300 to 400 hectares of multi-species combination of vetch, forage canola and tillage radish. Our hay comes from 3 different sources. We've got some barley hay that we cut every year, as well as vetch and or medic if there's enough to cut, and also we bale up some straw post-harvest. Our soil types vary from sandy loams to sand over clay, also white non-wetting sands and some shallow limestone reef. The Glovers moved to the Atlanta district in 1906. We're a pioneering family in that district. So my parents moved up here in 1971. I left school in 1990 and started farming with my parents, my sister and brother-in-law in partnership. And we continued that partnership until 1998, where myself and Melanie basically split the business up into 2 parts. And myself and Melanie started to manage our own side of our business under the guidance of my parents. The reason why I've chosen to have this mixed enterprise is basically as a risk management tool for variable seasons. An experience over the years that I've had since I've been farming is that we needed to have another aspect to our business to be sustainable, to be able to ride out the lows in terms of rainfall. So one of the things we struggled with was the legume production, particularly if we were taking a legume through to grain. A lot of our country has got a high risk of frost. If we were sowing a legume for grain production, some years it would work really well, but if we got smashed with frost, we would come out with a 0 income. So with the livestock side of it, we've got a medic pasture that is effectively doing the same work for us if we can get it to establish well. As a legume grown for grain, then we're still getting that benefit of the nitrogen that legume offers, as well as the grass control of that phase in our program, as well as supplying us with some sheep feed. So one of the challenges of running livestock in this environment where we have a lot of fragile soils, so our lighter, sandier soils, if not managed well, can end up being a drift issue for us. So to be able to manage that better, we needed some other options, and that's where the containment yards came into it. Sort of started a few years ago, and we've done it in stages, and that just allowed us to be able to take sheep off the paddock, lock them away, still maintain their condition, and be able to maintain that cover over the summer months, because that's when those lighter sands become really vulnerable. So we're running a self-replacing Merino Flock with 1,500 breeding ewes. We've been buying our rams for 30 years from Coandropol Merino, who's now located down the southeast. So the ASBV traits that we've been focusing on is the clean fleece weight, staple length, fat, eye muscle and post-weaning weight. Not really looking to increase our adult weights in our sheep. With the transition to mules free, we'll now be focusing on the breech wrinkle and dag score. We felt like our style of sheep lended itself to transitioning to the mules free. We had free growing wool and low maintenance sheep. With the 6-month shearing, we felt like we could transition into the mules free, and also felt like the industry was moving that way, so we needed to get our head around that. Since we've had our containment yards, we've been joining our rams in November whilst the ewes have been in containment, because that lines up with when we've got them in there, and that seems to be working well. We scan our ewes for wet and dry, but also singles and multiples. From the scanning results, we treat the singles and the multiples differently, giving the multiples more access to nutrition leading up to lambing and also through the lambing period. We aim to have the multiples in lambing down in the smaller paddocks to help with the mismothering. Since we've gone to singles and multiples, we've increased our lambing percentage by 10 to 15%. In the last 2 years, 123 and 125%. since we've put the containment yards in has meant we've had far more flexibility the way we've run our livestock. We can better manage our pastures through the winter periods and also our stubble loads over the summer. So one of our main priorities is maintaining ground cover. We found if we weren't leaving enough ground cover leading into the summer, some of our soils would be at risk of erosion through those summer months. With the flexibility of the containment yard, we can choose when we have sheep in there and not. So we can rest certain paddocks and allow them to establish. We generally move them in November, just prior to joining. Predominantly, if they're going into the containment yard, we're not looking to increase their weight or condition, we just want to maintain. We've found that a legume-based hay, as well as cereal hay and straw, has been giving us good results with being able to maintain condition. The general base to our diet in the containment is purely on hay. Because we shear 6 monthly, we can visually assess our animals. It's very easy to see what condition our sheep are in. Long-wooled sheep are harder to assess their condition because the longer the wool is, the more it hides the condition of the sheep. So the feedlot has been put in place for us to finish our own lambs, because there's been some years where we haven't had the feed, that we've been forced sellers because of a lack of feed. We were selling our lambs off as restockers instead of finishing them off ourselves. When we employed Yui, he had a background in animal nutrition and also an understanding of feedlotting and had experience with auto feeders.
My name is Johan Kriek. I am originally from South Africa. We moved over here about a year ago. Went to uni and got a degree in agriculture and worked in South Africa on all sorts of farms. We wanted to see how Australia looks like, so we immigrated. Well, the benefits of the auto feeder, it helps a lot with time management and management as a whole, because you can literally see on the app, there's an app on the phone that tells you the weight of the pellets that's been fed out for the day, and using that you can calculate your profit over weight gain. And it's an easy setup. You can physically stop the feeder if there's any trouble, or you can stop the feeder if you see they are eating more than they should be eating. The nutritional regime we're using in the feedlot is pellets that's got all your minerals and your vitamins and all your crude protein, all that stuff already calculated in, and it works very efficiently with the cell feeder. Weight gains we're after is about 250 grams a day minimum, average daily growth. The target time frame that we put them in for is plus minus 50 days.
We're aiming for a lamb to go into the feedlot at 40 kilos and come out at 60. We're able to run 1,000 lambs off one auto feeder. If we're trading stock through the feedlot, we'll be looking to source the lambs locally, as there's less biosecurity risk involved. This system is only new to the business, but we believe we can run 8,000 to 10,000 sheep through the feedlot. So predominantly we're running sheep on our medic pastures, but as part of our feed base we also sow vetch for a number of years, and we've found that to be a really good feed source and great for finishing off and growing our lambs. It also helps, complements our cropping side to our business. We found with the mixed species that it gives us more diversity and a better feed base, which is really high in nutritional value and gives us good growth rates while the lambs are in the paddock. We normally sow vetch prior to our cropping, well, before we start our wheat and barley. We also split that sowing to try and better manage some of the broadleaf weeds in those mixed species, so we sow them at the end of seeding. In recent years we've been trialling and growing mixes with our vetch, not just vetch and barley, but vetch and forage canola as well, and vetch and tillage radish. Tillage radish adds another bit of diversity to what we're doing and also gives us more biomass than perhaps a pure medic stand will give us. So at certain times of the year we're able to increase our stocking rate on those paddocks, and then also we can give other paddocks breaks at certain times of the year when we can load up those paddocks with more stock. We aim to move the sheep out of the paddock generally by visual appraisal, but we want to maintain good ground cover. So on some of our fragile soils, if we overgraze that too early, they won't recover, and then they become exposed to wind over the summer months. So we basically rotationally graze our sheep for a week, 2 weeks, then move them, then assess the paddock cover after they've been moved out, and then come up with a plan of how much longer we can graze for before they go back in. So we really value the laneways that we have on the farm. It allows us flexibility to have paddocks to crop or paddocks to pasture. Centralises the way we can move livestock and machinery. We have 4 out of our 5 farms that we own are all linked through this central network, which makes for really efficient use of labour. We've sort of outgrown the old shearing shed. That was a 2-stand shed built in the 1960s. Now that we've moved to a summer shearing, that means that covers the house and the sheds in dust. And we've also had issues with how do we get the water to drain away from those yards in the winter months. So we decided to relocate to a new area where it was still centrally located to our laneways. We needed power and we needed good drainage, good sloping. So we were able to pick a site not far from the yard, but still pretty close. So we plan to integrate the 308 auto drafter and also sheep handler and bulk handler into the design of the yards. This will help us to further integrate the use of EID technology in the future, where we will be able to monitor certain traits in our sheep and cull based on those traits, and also a cover over the whole facility. We felt like with the staff we currently have that we needed to have an office that was set up as a base close to where we were working and not in our house. And we also wanted to provide better facilities for our staff. Our water leak detection units are linked to all our water meters on all our farms, so we can monitor our flow rates and water usage, and also easily see when we have some issues in terms of maintenance. We're using weather stations to record our rainfall, wind speed, direction, humidity, temperature. I use data from those weather stations so we can monitor when we have frost. Also stored soil moisture. Particularly with some of the properties we purchased where some of that infrastructure had not been maintained, cropping was the main focus. You know, fencing and water infrastructure had been neglected. So that meant when we bought those properties we had major work to do and some infrastructure spending. So the staff we have been utilised to help get all those jobs done and get those properties up and running so that we can crop and run livestock on them as quickly as possible. Currently have 4 full-time employees, all very young. They've only been with us for a short time, very enthusiastic, willing to work, and great team to work with. Yui came to us 12 months ago from South Africa, and he's been employed to take over the livestock management. The most important thing is they enjoy working here, and we give them an environment that's good to be around. What we do is based around team and everybody being a part of that team. Our meetings generally happen at 8 o'clock in the morning when everyone gets to work. Fairly informal, stand around the back of the ute and have a chat about what's going on. Assign certain jobs to certain people. Some days things go to plan and then other days they don't. Weather can play a big part in that, and machinery breakdowns, all sorts of things will change. So Melanie does all our admin, bookkeeping, does all the accounts, all the payrolls, all the finances.
He helps, he's a great father and a great role model for his kids, so he definitely is a hands-on dad. I'm pretty fortunate with the lifestyle we have. We don't spend each and every day together working, but when it comes hand in hand with family, yeah, we seem to get things sorted when they need to be, so. We use Phoenix Ag Live data, a program aligned to farming and agricultural businesses. Some staff, they use the Phoenix Ag data on their phone and they input their ads over the phone, so it's an automatic transition, which definitely helps me with my payroll. Through the My MLA platform, I have access to my online NVDs and LPA quality assurance program and also the MSA. So over the years we've been using the ENVDs through that, and I find them really quite easy to use. And also there's resources there online available that we can maintain our accreditations, but also look at any updates and info that might be relevant to what we're doing here with our livestock. Well, farm succession isn't something that is a major priority right now. It's certainly something that is in the back of my mind.
That's always a challenge for any business or any family business to manage or to deal with. I don't know if there's any right or wrong way of going about that, but just to be aware of it and to quietly plan ahead. I use independent consultants, one for agronomy advice and another for grain marketing and HR advice. I've found that of great benefit to our business in the last 10 years. Work very closely with our accountant and with the expansion that we've been through in the last 10 years, also my bank manager. We're quite quick to adopt new ideas if I can see the value that will add to our business. We are entering into a new era for our livestock management, having brought on a livestock manager as part of our business now. We're also integrating the containment and feedlotting side of that into our business and looking at how we can integrate the EID technology so that we can better manage certain traits in our sheep. With the building the new shearing shed and yard facilities, it's going to be a great facility for not only our staff but also shearing contractors to work in, and should be a really good environment for all that work in our business. Very proud of what we've been able to achieve in the last 10 years and looking forward to what the future holds.